How much is Jesus?
You gonna always see me smiling. I'm gonna show you what real restoration looks like. All right, welcome to another week of the Black is Jesus show. This week I got a special guest on, and we're gonna unpack domestic violence. So it's funny how me and Donatica met. That's the person who's coming on. After I did the show for Netflix, she was a person that reached out to me and shared her story with me, and I just thought her story was so compelling and so powerful that I would bring her on so she could share the story with everybody, and we're going to unpack domestic violence after we talk about her story. Donatica, you ready?
I am, yes.
Okay, let us hear it.
All right. So I met my child's father when I was like 19, 20 years old. We didn't have like a long dating history previous to me becoming pregnant with our first child. So I didn't really get to know his personality, his mannerisms, or maybe certain character flaws that he had previous. So I would say a couple weeks postpartum was the first experience I remember having with him in domestic violence. He had came home. He was like a very heavy drinker when I met him. He had actually just been released from prison when I met him. He was literally like a week out from being in there for, I want to say, 18 months. Okay. I don't know what it was he was previously incarcerated for. I don't think it was domestic violence, but he had just got out of prison. And he's got a couple years on me, maybe 3 years on me. So he was like drinking really heavy when I first met him, but up to this point, after me having our child, he was still drinking pretty heavy. And he came home one night and he woke me up. He turned the light on in the room, and I thought that he was like about to come in and like hug me or do something nice to me because he was smiling at me. So I smiled back at him. And he walked over to me and he grabbed me by the throat. I had the baby in my arms, like tucked next to me, couple days old, couple weeks old. And he grabbed me by the throat and he smacked me as hard as he could, like smacked me with all the force that he had inside of him. And I remember like jumping up and like in that moment, I just instantly was like, I need to leave. Like, I need to go. I need to leave and not be here. And I remember he like followed me out of the house and he stopped me because he had the keys to the car. He stopped me, pulled me back into the house, and just kind of really downplayed the situation and was just like kind of like go back to bed like nothing happened. And so I spoke to him the next morning about the situation, which I was like really just thrown off about the situation. But I spoke to him about it, and he had basically said that he had a conversation with somebody about me talking to somebody else or seeing someone else or something like that. And like, I guess that was the reaction to the situation. And so, you know, I guess at some point I've justified that situation by thinking, you know, like, oh, well, he was just so enraged at the thought that I was doing something, or, you know, so I excused it. Some time goes by, some months later, my daughter is probably maybe anywhere between like 6-7 months old. And we had a situation, we go out, we kick it with some friends, and it was actually his friend and his other child's mother's sister. It was her birthday. We met her at Medusa. I don't know if anybody heard of Medusa, but we met up at Medusa for somebody's birthday. And again, super drunk. We had drove there together, and he had got upset with me. He said I was like looking at his friends weird. I don't know what exactly the problem was, but he just felt paranoid about me looking at somebody else or giving someone else their attention. So we kind of got into like an argument with each other, and he said he was going to leave me. And so I'm like chasing him out of Medusa because I drove there with him. I didn't want him to leave me. I really didn't understand why he was upset. And so I remember we get outside Medusa. I'm running towards like the valet person to get the keys from them. And he like catches up to me and chokes me in front of everybody that's standing outside. Valet, security, people standing in line. Close the door, love. People standing in line, and nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. There was no reaction from anybody. I felt like the whole world at that moment stopped. Like it was just complete silence. Because I think everybody else was just like, whoa, like I can't believe that just happened. But I do remember the thought process for me was like, okay, well, you know, people don't intervene. So, you know, that's a thought that kind of like goes through a victim's head when you realize nobody speaks up for you. Nobody says anything on your behalf. That behavior kind of almost seems like it's normal because other people don't even want to be bothered with it.
They don't. Yeah.
So over time, like the situation's escalating. So now we get to, I want to say this is like summer 2018. Okay. And after that situation happens, actually, I'm sorry. See, I'm about to skip the whole entire situation. So that night when we leave from Medusa, we both get into the car. I jump into the driver's seat of the car because I had got the keys. I jump into the car. I'm like going to leave him, but he jumps in the car with me. And in that moment, like I was so angry that he had choked me out in front of all of those people and he was refusing to get out of the car. I remember like I turned over and I started putting my hands on him. I hit him back. I hit him. Like this is so in this moment, like I see a totally different person, like just take over him, like his eye, like looking in his eyes, like he wasn't even him. And he hit me in that moment, in that instance, like I want to just say off of like just natural, like response to somebody hitting you. He hit me back. He hit me with the back of his hand and he had a watch on and he hit me like with the back of his like hand, wrist, and the watch hit me in my face, like hit me in my eyes, both sides of my eyes actually, and in my forehead. And he actually in that situation fractured one of the bones like in my eyes, because I went to the hospital the next morning from that situation. My eyes had swelled up so much I could not even open it. It was just flat out black. After he hit me in the face, we switched sides of the car because I can't see. We drive back home. Now, while we driving back home, I'm crying and I'm asking him like, why did you do that? You know, why did you do that to me? Why did you just do that? Like, I can't even open my eyes. And he was like, really just downplaying it, like telling me to shut up. Why are you crying? You know, like I'm the one who made this happen because I did this or that. So basically, he's like, it was my fault. I made him do that. I needed to shut up. Like I was just aggravating him and he had no sympathy for me. And you know, the difference in that moment is like, I had a couple drinks in there, but I wasn't drunk. I wasn't, you know what I mean? So like my reality is totally different than the reality that he has because he's drunk. He's drunk out of his mind. Yeah. So we get to the house and I'm fighting over the keys with him because I'm trying to take the keys from the car from him. And at one point he bites me. So he didn't block my eye, broke a bone, it fractured a bone in my face, and then bit me. I mean, like bit me to the point like I was bleeding and I had literally a bite mark, teeth imprints deep into my skin. So I had a friend. I'm still really good friends with this person, but I had a friend who was at my house at that time. He was watching the child that me and him shared together. And I remember my friend heard us arguing. He came outside and he like saw my face, and he saw him, and my child's father immediately started making excuses to him, immediately started telling him like it was my fault because of this and this and that. And my best friend got me inside the house or whatever, like cleaned me up, took a couple pictures of me and was like, you know, you need to go to the hospital. Like, I'll keep the baby. You go to the hospital. But I remember in that moment also, okay, now we are in front of another male. This is a male who is close to me. This is my best friend. I've been friends with this man since I was a kid, and he's not even doing nothing about it. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional, but
okay.
You know, so for me, that was another thing that was like, okay, here goes another person who didn't say anything on my behalf. So I left it, you know, whatever situation passed. I didn't see him for a couple weeks after that situation. So I decided I was gonna move away to Pennsylvania where my mother was at. So I had packed all my stuff up and I had left the apartment that I had. I had broke my lease, and I had moved. And I didn't talk to him for a little while. And then, you know, I ended up talking to him again I want to say maybe 3 weeks to a month later, talking to him again. I decided to go up to Cleveland and see him. And this is still summer of 2018. So this had to be like maybe May of 2018 that situation happened. So now we're in maybe July of 2018. I came up to Cleveland to see him with our daughter. He, at that point, I mean, he was still drinking, still doing his regular, whatever he was doing in his life. And I ended up meeting up with him, and we had went and saw a movie. We did something regular at first. We went and saw a movie, but while we went to go see the movie, he was drinking. Yeah. And so he was like, hey, do you want to go to Secrets? And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. We go over to Secrets. Mind you, he already been drinking in the movie theater. He's been drinking. And I wasn't really drinking like that. So to me, I was like, I gotta kind of play it safe while he's getting drunk. Like, this is already a thought process that I have, you know. So we go to Secrets. We actually end up running into somebody that he knows. I don't know this man. I don't remember this man's name. But we run into this dude and we sitting there. And he, like, I don't know what it was, you know, but he was like really just in a really weird mood. And he had got an attitude with one of the dancers there. Paid one of the dancers to give me a dance that I didn't want. Had an attitude with the dancer. Because I don't think he gave her enough money or something. And it wasn't because he didn't have the money. It's just because he was drunk and he wasn't counting it. And so, like, it turned into a problem. Yeah. He got upset. And so he took my glass of wine out of my hand because he was upset, and he poured the glass of wine out on the floor and was like, you're done drinking. And so I was like, okay, well, it's time for me to go home. You know, it's time for me to part ways or go my separate ways. And so I'm making my way out the door to leave, and he catches up with me in the parking lot. He's still with the same friend, and he's like yelling at me and going in on me. And the friend stopped him and was like, you know, why are you talking to her like that? Or why are you acting? I can't remember the exact words he said, but he just, you know, this is like the first person I didn't ever, in any situation that spoke up and was like, why are you doing that? Like, she didn't even do nothing. Like, why are you, you know, like, you lightweight kind of tripping. And, you know, he told his friend, like, mind is big, you know, this ain't got nothing to do with you, mind your business, something like that. And so they go their separate ways. I go my separate way. I end up going to his sister's house because his sister had the baby. So I go where the baby's at. I get to his sister's house. I lay down and I was asleep. I didn't hear my phone ringing. I guess he was trying to get in touch with me. He shows up to his sister's house, snatches me out of the bed. smacks me. Mind you, the baby's in the room while he's doing this. He smacks me, snatches my phone, reads something on my phone, and he leaves out and takes my phone with him. And he had his other baby mother's car. He's driving her car to come harass me. So he leaves out with my phone in her car. And so I think up at this, by the time that we get to this point, I'm just kind of like fed up with him. I'm like, you know what? I had enough of this. Like, I'm not going to keep letting this person just walk all over me. I done been through so many phones since I met this man, because he gets mad, he takes them, he breaks them. So I get it and set in my mind, like, I'm going to follow him and I'm going to go get my phone. And see, like, that was really an impulsive decision, because, you know, looking back at it, the age that I am and the person I am now, materialistic things don't matter. Like, let it go. Let them take it. Let them have it. Let them do what they want to do with it. It's theirs. It doesn't even matter. Replace it. Everything's replaceable, but your life is not replaceable, you know? So I look at it totally different now, but I decided I was going to follow him, and I chased him down. He pulls up to his baby mama house. She lived in the valley at the time. And he pulls around the corner from her house, though, because he don't want her to know that he's, you know, harassing me and fucking with me. So he pulls around the corner from her house, and we're arguing. We going back and forth. And at this point, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. I've been, you know, like, I just got woke out of my sleep. It's a bunch of emotions going on. My adrenaline is rushing. So we're going back and forth. And at one point he takes my car keys. So now I'm fighting him for my car keys. I'm fighting him for my phone. And then it turns into like a physical thing where, I can't really he's not allowing me or giving me the opportunity to hit him back or push him back or do anything back to him. But when he gets the opportunity, he's like, getting shit off on me. So, now I'm getting more frustrated. I'm sorry, what?
I've seen it a million times. I know what you're talking about.
Right. So I start getting more frustrated. And at one point, I'm just like, you know, whatever. Just get away from. I just sit down. I give up fighting him. I give up on the keys. I give up on the phone. And he walks away with my stuff, walks away with my belongings, and he comes back with one of his friends. This is another friend that happened to live near the baby mama. And he comes back with the friend, and he asked the friend in front of me, can the friend give him his gun? And the friend was like, why would I give you a gun and you arguing with your baby mama? Like, this is a bit much. I'm about to go back in the house. And so friend leaves. And so I guess he wasn't satisfied with that. He wanted somebody that was going to, help him, you know what I'm saying, fuck with me. He wanted somebody that was gonna be on his side and help him whatever he was trying to do to fuck my day up. So he goes back to his baby mother's house and comes back around the corner with his baby mother, who's pregnant at the time. And she's not upset with him. She's upset with me. And she's like talking shit to me. And so, of course, in this moment, I'm talking shit back to her. There's so many different things going on. So, of course, I'm angry. And so I'm talking shit back to her. And like through the course of us going back and forth, both of them start assaulting me. And after they're done assaulting me, they snatch the baby out of the car, put the baby into her car, and they pull off. And so now at this point, we've had all of these things, but I haven't called the police. But now we in a situation where my baby's in this situation. So I'm, now I'm like, this is a time where I need to call the police. This is a moment, where this isn't just personal to me, but now my baby. And I don't think that they were going to cause harm to her. And I just want to make that clear. I don't think they were going to hurt her. But also it was just like, how could you take her from me as a mother? How could you do that? And then, on his end, it was just a tactic of like trying to hurt me. So now I'm like, okay, this is a point where I need to call the police. And so we had a big situation about that went on for several months. He did a couple days in jail. And there was nothing else. At some point, I get required to go to domestic violence counseling for myself. And then I ended up talking to a detective about the situation, and the detective that came to speak to me, I remember this I really do remember this so vividly because it was very disappointing. She had said to me, I went to go tell her like the situation, and she cut me off and basically told me in so many words that my situation was like every other situation that she's dealt with. She's been on the job for a certain amount of years. And she brought up a previous situation that I think I had mentioned to you earlier about him fracturing a bone in my face. When I went to the hospital, they reported it as domestic violence, but I refused to give any information. I refused to give any of his information up. And because of that, she really didn't want to hear what I had to say. So actually where I left off, does kind of tie up to the event that happened. So actually, after this situation happened in 2019, he ended up going to prison for domestic violence against his other children's mothers. And he got like 18 months. So through that 18 months, I decided to stay in a relationship with him and support him and try to get him resources for like drinking and things like, stuff like that. And so he came home 2020. I want to say that was like September, the end of September 2020. He gets out of jail. And so I'm still trying to pursue a relationship with him. But actually, the day he gets home, he was extremely drunk, violent towards me, still violent towards me at this point. So you just got out of jail for domestic violence. You're on 3 years of parole. And just the first thing he does is come home and get drunk. And he was, okay, I'm sorry. Somebody was calling. Let me put the phone on Do Not Disturb. So fast forward a little bit. Some time goes by. We get into December now. Okay. December of 2020. We were kicking it with one of my good friends. We're drinking. Me and him at this point are not in a relationship, but we still, I still see him from time to time. I see him in December. We're drinking with a friend, which that should have been a big no-no in the first place, was drinking with him. But we're drinking with a friend, one of my good friends. We were at his somebody he knew house, and he had he had a little bit to drink, and he started acting like really paranoid and was ready to leave. And so I was gonna take him wherever he needed to go. Like I think he was in a different relationship at this point, and I was gonna take him wherever he needed to go to get home or to do whatever it was he was gonna do. So we pull up to my friend's house to drop her off first. And when we pull up to her house, her side door was like broke at that time. And so she didn't have a key to get into the side door. So she opens up the door and he gets like extremely paranoid because she was able to open the door without a key. I don't know, the thought process, but it enraged him. Like it really enraged him. So he made me get out of the car and made both of us go to her. He felt like maybe she was trying to set him up or something. I don't know. But he made me go into her house. We get into her house. And me and him start fighting. Like physically, we're fighting. We're going through my friend's house and we're fighting. And next thing I know, he pulls a gun out on me. And I'm like, wow, why would you do that? What is it that would make you really pull a gun out on me? What did I do to you? And at this point, he refuses to put the gun away. He refuses to have any type of conversation. There's no leveling with him. There's no, he was just in this state of like, you're going to do what I say and that's it. And so he made me leave her house and he made me drive him back to my house. And we went into the house where he still had the gun. He still had this gun out. So we're at like maybe 2 hours of time at this point that this man had this gun pulled out and did not put it away. At one point we had sex with the gun in the bed. And so the next morning I wake up And I'm while he's like knocked out, drunk, sleep, I'm like, I'm about to leave. I'm about to get out of here and leave. And I'm never gonna be like this. If I ever had a moment in my life where I was like, this man is gonna kill me, this is the moment. I'm like, this is what it, like this is too far now. So I go outside. And I have a friend that was about to come pick me up, and because she had the kids. She pulls up and she's like, oh shit, he's behind you. Now he's running behind me with a gun and has the gun out. He's yelling at her, telling her he's gonna shoot her if she don't leave. So she leaves. She calls the police, and he takes off. I don't see him for several weeks after this. Okay, so now we rolling around to Christmas time, 2020. I end up, I talked to him. He's like, he wanted to do gifts for the kids and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go, in a public setting, in a public place and do shop, like we'll go our separate ways. We'll show up our separate ways. We'll do what we need to do to get the kids the Christmas presents. That's fine. But I'm still, at the point where I'm like, I'm not going to be alone with this man. I don't feel comfortable alone with him. I don't want to be nowhere around him, honestly. So we do the Christmas shopping. We get done with the Christmas shopping and he's like, he basically he wants to go home with me. And I'm like, trying to come up with any excuse to not have him leave with me or come home with me or do, like, I don't want to do that. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to politely, come up with a reason why not. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to this Christmas party, blah, 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 blah. He calls the person that's having a Christmas party and invites himself. So they called me and they're like, he's coming, so I don't go. So I ended up not going. And at this point, I'm dating somebody else as well. So he's in a separate relationship. I'm in a separate relationship. But I didn't tell him that because I didn't want him to be like upset or you know what I mean? I just didn't want to tell him that. So,
yeah. Put yourself in danger.
Right. So later on that night, me and my new boyfriend were at my house. The kids are gone. The kids are at a family friend's house. She was keeping them so I could get the gifts wrapped and get everything together or whatever. She had presents for them too. So that was just the arrangement for that night. And he knew that because this family friend it was a family friend of his. It was a close friend to him. I guess he had spoke to her. He knew the baby, like the two girls were not at home with me. And so he started calling my phone and he was drunk. He was upset. He was mad because I wasn't at the party. He was mad I wasn't answering the phone. And so he started texting me and threatening me, for hours. And at some point I went to sleep. So some of the messages I didn't even get a chance to read, but he was basically like threatening me like, this, good night, because this is going to be the last night you ever have. If you don't answer the phone, I'm going to send somebody over there to do something to you. I'm going to come do like, just it was like threat after threat after threat. And so I was ignoring it. And I had it was probably like maybe 4 something in the morning. I heard a tap on my bedroom window. And I don't know if you're familiar with the West 28 projects and like how they set up it's different floors. You know what I mean? It's the old like setup of projects. And I think it's like 3 floors. So I was on the 2nd floor. So he basically came through the hallway and went out of the window in the hallway and climbed up to the porch. Shit. Yes. Yeah. He climbed up to the everybody says that. Climbed up onto the porch, right? He didn't even come straight to my door like a regular person. Like, I'm going to knock on her door and see if she opens the door first, if she answers the door, if she says anything. And I had a rental at the time because the engine in my car had went out and the Kia dealership was replacing it. So that I had like a little rental for the time or whatever. So he didn't know what car I was driving. He didn't know if I was home or not. He didn't see my car. He didn't come knock on the door like a regular person. He climbed up to the side, climbed up on the porch, and he tapped on my bedroom window, and I heard him tap, and I heard him like talking to himself. And I was like, oh shit. I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, I got my new boyfriend over here. I got him knocking on. Number one, I'm embarrassed that he's doing that in front of him. But number two, I'm like also concerned because I'm like, what the fuck is he gonna do? And this is like a split second of me just these thoughts going through my head, but I don't say anything. I don't move. I don't speak. And my old boy at the time, like he didn't even hear him at the window. So I'm like, I'm just gonna be quiet. Maybe he'll go away. And so I hear him talking to himself still, and he's like, basically to the effect of, oh, so you're not gonna answer? And as soon as he said, you're not going to answer, I heard it sounded like somebody was throwing a rock at the window. And it wasn't a rock. It was him shooting through my bedroom window. And the angle that he shot through the window, like how high it was in the window. Mind you, the window is not close to the porch. So that means he had to stand up on the side of the porch, and he had to angle the gun at such an angle that it would hit me in my bed. Because I had curtains too, so he couldn't see anything, but he pointed the gun into my bedroom, pointed it at my bed, and he shot through the window, and it hit me in the knee. It went under my knee and like up, it came up like towards the joint of my knee, and it got caught in my joint. And I think he shot me with like a 22. So because it had traveled through so many other things, it had stopped in my joint. You know, it went through the window, it went through the curtain, it went through the comforter, and then it went through me. So it stopped right there in the joint. But when he shot me, I had yelled out. I was like, Lloyd, you just fucking shot me. And I didn't hear nothing else after that. I didn't hear anything, but I was trying to wake my new boyfriend up. I'm trying to push him out the bed because I didn't know if he was going to keep shooting into the room. So I'm like, you know, you need to get out of the bed. And so, oh boy, like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I just got shot. And he's like, what you mean you got shot? And I'm like, this nigga just shot through my bedroom window. And he was like, no, you dreaming, you tripping. And I pulled the covers back, and he was like, oh shit, like, damn, like you really did.
Yeah, like you really shot.
You really got shot. What the fuck? So, whatever. I ended up going to the hospital. I got it removed. I healed up perfectly fine. I can walk perfectly fine. I don't have no issues. I still get pain in my leg? Yes, I do. I have a lot of problems with my knee, but I'm good and I'm here. So I mean, you know, I'm thankful that it could have paralyzed me. I could have hit me in the head. It could have hit me anywhere. That could have changed my life drastically. So I'm very thankful that it happened the way that it did, where it did.
Yeah. So, and he locked up right now, right?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: like, so with all this stuff that you just said, like, like I said, your story is like you just laid a lot more on me than what you wrote me. So like,
yes,
I didn't even know the extent of. Yes.
Well, you know what? I wanted to put it that way, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to put it that way so that you could see the escalation, the progression. Of it, you know, like it starts off with a smack, and then it goes to, okay, now I'm punching you, and now it's, okay, I'm threatening you with stuff, and now it's, okay, I'm going to actually use this against you because these threats are not working. I have to take it to the next level.
Okay, so the most criticism that people give when they hear those type of stories, they be asking people like, so, you know, people victim blame. They say, oh, well, you dumb as fuck. What you stay for?
Right.
You went through all that. You went through all that to lead up to getting shot. Like you were supposed to leave 5-10 years ago. Like, so what did you say when people say that type of stuff? Like what goes on through your mind? Like what things did you say that rationalize saying like that?
So I'm okay. I love this question. Number one, when you're in a relationship with somebody that has an abusive mindset, number one, abuse is a form of oppression. Okay. And most of the time when you're an oppressor, what you do is you come up with different tactics, different mental tactics to keep people distracted, to keep them confused, to keep them disoriented, to keep them questioning themselves, to make them have a low self-esteem about themselves, to make them second guess their own decisions, their thought processes, their morals, their values. It's an ongoing thing that happens continuously. And that's what starts off before you even get to where it becomes violent or it becomes physical, is you get mental and you get verbal abuse from somebody. Yes, some people do have stronger mentalities to avoid situations like that when they first happen. But some people might have a history where they're used to being around people who are verbally abusive. So they put it off. Maybe they, whatever your specific reason is why you look past somebody being abusive to you is just to you, but you end up making a lot of excuses. You blame yourself a lot of the time for the things that happen, or you become so confused by their actions. And you just don't, sometimes when you can't put things into words, or you can't explain or put a name on what you're trying to say somebody's doing to you, it's hard for you to keep up with the idea that that's what they're doing to you.
Yeah. So do you think, so let me ask you this, like when you grew up, did you grow up seeing domestic violence in your household? Something that you grew up around?
I did. I grew up, number one, my mother and my father were in a domestic relationship. My father was 13 years older than my mother and physically abusive towards her. Did I get to experience a lot of that? I don't remember. I was a baby, but I do. My earliest memory of seeing domestic violence in a household, I had a godmother and her baby father. She had 2 kids with him. I remember watching him beat the shit out of her. And I had to be maybe 3-4 years old, but I still remember watching my mama. I remember watching my mom jump in this fight to save her friend, and he punched my mom in the nose too. But I remember seeing, yes, I remember seeing him be violent, but I also remember seeing somebody stick up. I remember seeing somebody jump in and say, "Hey, this isn't right," or "Hey, this isn't you're not gonna do this."
And it was still another woman that was jumping in.
So you
still were seeing man on woman violence.
Yes.
I think this shit get normalized too much, especially in all cities. Like when you grow up, this shit is normal. So and then young girls is gonna see this type of shit, and they gonna emulate it. They gonna likely become like you like you said, you got certain people that's strong enough to be like, oh, if this happened to me, I'm gonna leave at the first signs. But most people, more times than not, you do what you've seen. You do what becomes normal. So a lot of times young women become victims, and the young men who watch it become perpetrators.
Right.
Like I know me growing up, one of my earliest memories was my mother fighting. She had a boyfriend named Magic, and he used to beat on her all the time. And I'm about 5 years old, so I can't do nothing to him.
Right.
But I remember one day my grandmother gave me a stick. She said, if you ever see that man jumping on your mama, I want you to bust him upside the head with this stick. So I couldn't wait for the next little episode they was going to have. They have it like once or twice a week. So I couldn't wait. So and one day I'm sitting there playing, and I hear it. I hear all the bumbling. So then I go to the couch, and dude is like he got my mother pent down, and he choking her, and he biting her on the forehead. So I run, I go grab my stick. I get up on the couch, and I start beating him in his head with this stick. And then I'm hitting him flat, so it wasn't really doing nothing. Kids learn quick. I turned it sideways. Woo! Right. Bucking him. He got a bald head. It was almost looking like it was almost looking like, remember the Looney Tunes cartoon when the lump just swell up instantly? Man, that's how his head was looking. He had about 3 or 4 of them. I'm hitting him, and my little brother, he go grab a broomstick. My little brother, 2 years younger than me, he hitting him on the leg with a broomstick. And just so happened, my grandmother come busting in the house with her boyfriend, who was a detective for the Cleveland police. So dude kind of get up, because my grandmother come in, get off my goddamn daughter, and he get to stumbling out the house. He drunk. I done lightweight knocked him out almost with this stick. But at the end of the
Love
day,
it.
I'm yes, but I went from. I was like the defender, right? So I was like proud of myself. They went and bought me some. They bought me some KFC, but
right.
They rewarded me for this.
Right.
But think about it. I'm 5 years old. I should be being a kid right now.
Right.
I should not be in the middle of domestic violence disputes.
Absolutely.
So now,
yes.
So now they indoctrinated me into this. I'm in the middle of the fight early.
Yeah.
So even now, fast forward a few years with my mother, with my stepfather, they fighting probably 2-3 times a week. But I do remember Monday night they would always end up fighting because I'd be upstairs, me and my brother, we watching Monday Night Raw, and they always fucking it up. We always gotta like run downstairs and break their fight up. I done missed Stone Cold, do the stunner, and all kind of shit.
Right.
So and then for real. So we go downstairs and then, but like this one was a little bit different because Benny couldn't really whoop my mama. So we would go downstairs, and most times he'd be like, "Mom, get up off that nigga." They fighting though. So, but either way, like we in the middle of all these domestic violence disputes. So, and at this time, I'm taking the dynamic of like, you better not touch no woman, you better not hit no woman. But at the same time, I'm being indoctrinated. This is becoming normal to me. This is becoming my reality. And then when I go outside, I'm getting the same things down the street. My friend's mother and father fighting, or the boyfriend fighting. So like it was like, and like you said, what was happening to you? A lot of times people would just stand around and do nothing, or sometimes even or cheer it on and laugh. Like so, like and this becomes a lot of our reality. So we got all these young girls gonna grow up to be the future victims, and we got all these young dudes who gonna grow up to be future perpetrators. And I remember one day I was arguing with Danielle, and it was the way I said it. I'm arguing with her about something, and the way I said it just like my mama's. I said it just like my stepfather. Even had the old man voice on when I said it. I said it just like him. And in that moment, I'm like, damn. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn.
Right.
Like you grow up hating it, and then you actually end up becoming it. Like you said, it escalates. Because before I ever did anything physical, it was verbal abuse. It was put downs. It was emotional stuff.
Right.
So, and then it escalated to grabbing her arm too tight, or shaking her, or pushing, like you know how sometimes like you might accuse me of something, and then like girls, they do like the women, y'all come when y'all do a little swing, and y'all ain't really trying to hurt us, but y'all just swing on things, and then almost like the Tommy and Keisha. So then you shake, I would shake her, throw her on the bed, like don't you, like shut the fuck up, like don't be hitting me, blah, blah, blah. 10 minutes later, we having sex. That's our cycle. That's our toxic teenage cycle.
Toxic teenage cycle. Yes.
Yes, and that's what we're doing now. That's as far as I got. I never broke no ribs or busted no nose. But even then, though, like me, but even in my mind then, I wasn't even a domestic violence abuser. Like to me, that was nothing compared to the thing. So but no, it is something because, like you said, who knows what it could escalate into? So it can start like that. But to me, I'm comparing it to the knockout brawls that I've seen my mother having, and to me, like what I was doing was mild back in the day. Like that's how it starts. But think about the dynamics as far as like on the it's easy for us to point to individual. It's easier for us to point to individual cases. Like, oh, this person did this, and then react to it. Oh, you beat her, now you going to jail, we're going to talk about you. Oh, you did this, you shot her, you going to jail, we're going to talk about it. But this is a macro problem that needs to be addressed on a grassroots level. Right. Like this is something like saying like what you seen and what I seen. Like what part of town you from?
I'm from I lived all over Cleveland. I would say mostly though, most of my adulthood West Side. So.
Okay, so either way it goes. You on the West Side, I'm way over there. I'm way over there on Miles. But at the same time, we having a similar experience because this thing has become societal. This thing is cultural. This is something that
I was gonna say. I was actually gonna touch on that. and sorry to interrupt, but I was definitely going to touch on that. This is deeper. This is cultural. This is religious. This is environmental. This is, like you said, what you see inside your home. This is what we hear in our music. This is what we see in movies. This is romanticized in movies to be abusive towards women. This is what's idolized in music to degrade women, to be abusive to women, to see women as property, to see women as inanimate objects, things that you can use, something that you can use, something that you can benefit from. And it's glorified.
Sure. It's glorified. From the time a woman is born, she's been told she's a bitch in the hole.
Right.
And for a young girl is being told she's a bitch in the hole, whether she hearing her mother being called a bitch, or she hear her mother calling herself the baddest bitch, or like the things that you hear the little boys say, whether it's in the movies, whether it's in rap music, whatever it's at, you've been told you a bitch. And to a young boy, I've been told my whole life that women ain't shit but bitches and hoes. Like think about this. Somebody a glory, like you say, I got the money, the cars, the clothes, and the hoes. What don't belong? Everything else is an inanimate object except for a woman. So we have been successfully indoctrinated to understand that women, not to understand, but to feel that women are inanimate objects, something just a means for our ends. Shoulder, something arm candy, or something for sexual gratification. And this is something that we are told this is something we told culturally. So I remember being in kindergarten, first grade, and we talking about, and we don't even know what this means yet, but we talking about who gonna fuck the most bitches. We are in kindergarten. First grade. And these are the conversations we are having. So this is a cultural thing. So a lot of the young, and as long as this remains like this, as long as we're not doing something about it, like as long as we're not doing something about it, this is gonna remain. So we could keep being reactionary, like I said, to individual cases. But what we actually need, we need programming. We need grassroots projects that teach relationships. The teacher relationship stuff, and I'm talking about like not just in prison like the Danielle Project stuff I was doing. Like, don't get me wrong, you can't just send these dudes to prison and then they just gonna come home. They gonna come here, not go hard, work on themselves, and don't get no type of treatment. Then go home bigger, cockier. Now you can't even go get your brother because he beat his ass. Now he didn't do it. So I mean, you can't even go get him no more. So that's over with. But not just being reactionary. We have to take this and we have to do it. We got to be proactive. We need to have programs in middle school. We need to have them in high school. It's like, I don't understand. Because people have these delusions, but I don't know where nobody else is from. But by the time you hit the 8th grade, 50% of people is having sex. We are in relationships. By the time you get to high school, 99.9% of us is having sex. We are in relationships, and we do not know how to navigate them because all that we got is what the fuck we've been taught. All that we got is what we've seen in our home. All we got is what we see in our neighborhoods, and what we have inherited is bullshit. We have been getting passed down bullshit from generation to generation to generation, and we just perpetuate the cycles. And we got to understand that the cycles ain't gonna break backwards. Our parents already gave us some bullshit. They already gave it to us, but it's on us to not pass it down to our children. So, like, what things can we put together?
I was going to touch on what you just said about getting programming for middle schools. I agree. One of the statistics that I did see is that 9.4% of high school students have admitted that they've experienced some type of physical, verbal, or sexual violence from a partner. And these are high school students already experiencing abuse in high school. It definitely needs to be as early as possible. Actually, it does need to be programming, especially programming for kids, particularly that like kids that we already know need resources that are in domestic violence households that were removed from domestic violence or neglect situations. Definitely need to have programming put in place for them because, like we both just explained from our own personal experience, it plays a big role on you. Even into your adulthood, just witnessing that and hearing that as a child.
Yeah. So what do we do with the people that's already far gone, like the guy in your situation? Like, this dude has done the most. He has done the most. Like, he's scaled buildings and shot bullets at angles to make sure he hits you. Like, you know, so like so when you got somebody that's to the level, you know, it's different levels to the domestic violence.
Right.
You got different levels of escalation. You got different levels of, you know. So
abusers. There's different types of abusers.
All right. So yeah, like I was saying, so with dudes that's far gone, like the guy in your situation, and now that he's in prison, like, what do you feel to be done with him? Like, what type of treatment do you feel he needs, or do you feel like there's any way that this person could be redeemed?
I think anybody has the opportunity to become redeemed if they want to. It's a matter of wanting to make changes, more than it is of anything else, honestly. I would say men in situations like that need to be in abusers programs, and specifically abusers programs that are dedicated specifically only to abusers programs. I think a lot of the times, men who go to prison that go to prison for abuse use other excuses like drugs or alcohol or mental illness as reasons for why they are abusive. And so they get other counseling resources for those other issues that don't specifically target abuse. That needs to be like the number one thing. There needs to be more programs that are specifically dedicated to abusers and them working on themselves. It's not about like therapy, and it's not about counseling. It's really about wanting to admit the things that you do are abusive. They're cruel. Like, it's just being able to admit and take accountability, and also accept the consequences that you face. So if he's doing all three of those while he's in prison, I think number one, that's a step towards change. But definitely there needs to be more programming inside of prison and outside of prison that's dedicated more towards abuser programs, like not counseling. I'm not talking about therapy. I'm not talking about he needs to go and be medicated. These are not things that are going to stop somebody from having an abusive mentality. That's what it is. It's a mentality. It's a thought process. Distorted thought process. It's a delusional thought process. And if you can't admit that you are that, and that you do that, and you act like that, you will never get out of that mentality. So I do think people are capable of changing and learning. And I think if they get an opportunity to see a good example of something and something differently, and also see more men,
more men taking accountability.
Love women, speak highly of women, value women, support their children, supporting their mothers, supporting their children's mothers, whatever the case is. Like, if we see more of that, I think there is an option to change a lot of different men. I think the mentality is kind of just like racism. You know what I mean? Like, it's all in the person. It's how you were raised. It's how you think. And if you can't own up to how you think and that it's wrong, you'll never change.
Yeah, basically being like, you know, because like a lot of people are products of their environment. So like they like I said, these things are learned behaviors. These things were things that was passed down to people. But I do want to just add one thing to it, that the things that you were talking about, the counseling, the alcohol treatment, all that stuff is also needed, but it just is needed as well as tailor-made for abuse. All the other stuff. All the other stuff is good. All the other stuff is good for like supplement for it.
Yes. For what it's for.
My last question before we got here.
You're right. Thank you for clarifying that. Absolutely. It's needed. I'm not saying that it's not needed for those separate reasons, but what I'm saying is you can't be like, oh, he's an abuser, but he's went to AA, so you know that doesn't have to do with him punching her in the face. You being an alcoholic or doing drugs or even having a mental illness has nothing to do with you being violent towards women. Most of the time, you could have all three of those things on that list. It doesn't mean that you go out and you beat up on random dudes in the street. street. You know what I mean? It doesn't, those don't necessarily make you a violent person. So I want that to be differentiated. Like, I want people to understand it's a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Now they could play a factor, but they're not the end all be all, for sure.
Yes.
Now, one thing I want to ask you before we get up out of here, because we press for time.
Yes.
Go back to the beginning of this relationship, or think about the first domestic violence relationship that you ever was part of. If you can go back to that young girl in that moment with everything that you know now, what advice would you give her?
That's a tough one. I think first and foremost, the advice that I would give her, first thing that you want to say, I would say to my old self is, I'm not telling you what to do, because I think that's the number one thing that young people dismiss what you say when they feel like you're trying to intervene or tell them what to do. So this is not to judge you. This is not to run you, control you. This ain't to manipulate you, but you better than that. You're so much better than that. And somebody that's abusive to you, somebody that makes you question yourself, that makes you question the relationship, is not somebody that loves you and values you. Period.
Okay. I think that's a mic drop.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. So it was good. It was good having you on. It was good being able to have a conversation with you. Hey. Anytime you want to stop back through and you want to kick it about something, you're more than welcome. Just let me know and we're going to make it happen.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me and my story. And I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty.
Next time.
Next time. Have a blessed one. Thank you.
You too.